Hey guys, it is me, the Emerald Sword, and welcome back to another video, where today I will be reviewing The Weight of Blood by Tiffany D. Jackson for you all today. So, I have never read a Tiffany D. Jackson book before, but if it's anything like The Weight of Blood, her work is probably about like racism and like modern day politics and stuff, like really interesting stuff. I can't confirm that, I'm just guessing, but if I'm wrong, then I'm wrong. But anyway, so I decided to read The Weight of Blood because I happen to be a really big fan of the Stephen King book, Carrie. It's my favorite book of all time, and my reactions to the movies are mixed, to say the least. They all vary in qualities for me. Yeah, they all vary in quality. But I love the book. As I said, it's my favorite book. So when I heard that The Weight of Blood was like a modern retelling, I was like, that's really cool. I gotta read that. So I decided to read that, and wow, I have so many feelings on it. And so I'm not gonna really give you like a whole like plot summary because, as I said, it basically is Carrie, but I'm gonna mostly describe the differences between the two. So for starters, as we all know, Carrie starts in a locker room with a certain female incident. But so Maddie Washington, who's our Carrie substitute, she cannot get out in the rain or extreme heat or whatever because she is secretly black, but she's masquerading as a white girl. So if her hair goes all frizzy, that would kind of expose her blackness, I guess. So basically, what happens instead is that instead of a locker room incident, we have a track field incident where there is rain, and so the rain gets on her hair, and then of course it blossoms from there. And then for the bullying, instead of throwing the stuff at her like they did at Carrie, well, throwing the certain stuff like they did in Carrie, they throw pencils in her hair and it gets stuck. But since this takes place in 2014, there is a video that goes viral and stuff kind of spirals from there. So our main villain, our Chris replacement, is named Jules, and she has red hair. And I mention that because I like red hair, so having the villain have red hair makes me sad. Anyway, so like, yeah, she's like the main villain. She does like blackface and stuff. She's actually terrible. I think she's worse than Chris Hargensen, which is really hard to do. Chris Hargensen was already the worst. But yeah, so she's worse than Chris Hargensen. And so we have this guy Kenny. He's our Tommy replacement. He's like the star athlete and stuff, but he's also black. And keep in mind, this place, Springville, Georgia, there is not a lot of black students there, so that's kind of interesting. And and so his girlfriend Wendy is our Sue replacement, and then she's actually really interesting, and I'll get to that in a little bit. But basically, throughout the book, we kind of get Maddie's home life and her job life, working for her dad, and like I really like this one because Carrie, I love Carrie, but it really is on the short side and it really lacks in a lot of areas. But The Weight of Blood kind of fixes all my problems with Carrie. You know, it makes it longer. The characters are really well done, and it's hard to outdo Stephen King in characters and stuff. But like, yeah, so like, so over the course of the story, Kenny and Maddie get together, and Kenny actually really starts to like Maddie. Like, he's actually considering breaking up with Wendy and dating Maddie now because he just likes her that much. And this is really good character stuff. Like, he takes her to Dairy Queen, they start talking, and then later on he takes her to like this hiking trail, and then they start talking again. It's like, it's really good stuff. But anyway, so yeah, just differences here and there. But how does the prom scene go? Because they go to prom. So how does that go? Well, so if you remember Carrie, the prom scene ends with her getting dipped in blood, but it's a little worse here. Maddie gets white paint dumped on her. Yeah. And then, of course, you know the story. The town goes up in flames. Most people die, and then there you go. But here's where stuff really starts to be interesting. So, if you remember in Carrie, it's revealed that her father died either before she was born or a few months after she was born. She was very young at the very least. But it turns out that in The Weight of Blood, Maddie's mother actually left her with her father. So she's still alive, just going off somewhere. So then the book ends after the destruction, where Wendy and Maddie go off to find Maddie's mother. And then there's a bit of an epilogue here. Basically, it takes place, like, I guess in 2022 when the book was released. It's basically Maddie and Kenny, who I guess are no longer named Maddie and Kenny, and they're living with Maddie's mother, wherever she is. So, yeah, that's basically The Weight of Blood, and obviously, I'm pretty sure you can see what the message for this book is. It's obviously about racism and all that political stuff behind the racism. I really think that's really powerful, because it takes place in a small town in Georgia, and from what I've heard, I've heard that some places in Georgia are kind of a little bit racist. I don't know if that's true. I've just heard that, so don't get mad at me if anything is wrong. Anyway, of course, Carrie, it took place in the 70s, and it came out in the 70s, so it obviously didn't have that modern touch that The Weight of Blood did. I think the social media aspect to it was really well done, and I mean, they did that for the 2013 Carrie, but anyway, The Weight of Blood was really well done, and yeah, I really enjoyed it. But as I said, I can't say that I like it more than Carrie, because Carrie's the OG, so I just can't bring myself to do that. But it's certainly better than Carrie in a lot of ways. It's like more character development. It's longer. The villains are even more despisable, or I guess despicable, than they were in the actual Carrie, which is weird. And then, of course, our Carrie substitute, Maddie, survives, which I have mixed feelings on. Because I get upset every time Carrie dies. So I'm both happy that this version of Carrie gets to survive, but I'm also even sadder because the original Carrie didn't get to survive. And so, yeah, all that stuff. But anyway, The Weight of Blood was released in 2022, so it's still, like, very recent. It's still very topical. But it is really good, and I know I've been mentioning Carrie a lot because it's a Carrie remake, but I wouldn't even say that you should read it just because it's a modern retelling of Carrie. It does so good on its own, but reading Carrie, I guess, only enhances the experience. But it is so good on its own, and I cannot recommend it enough. Yeah, so if you're like into all that, like, political stuff and the like the racism and all that, and you like want to find a good book that, like, talks about all that stuff, I'd recommend The Weight of Blood. It's really good. I really enjoyed it. I read it in about 4 days, and yeah, it's really good. I can't recommend it enough. But anyway, so yeah, the next book I will be reading, I will return back to the Dune universe and read The Children of Dune. But until then, I've been Ben from the Emerald Sword, and I will see you guys next time.